Dr. Ryan Blake had dreamed of this moment his entire life. Standing at the observation deck of the spaceship, he watched as the alien planet came into view. Zephyria looked like a giant jewel floating in space, with purple oceans and silver mountains that sparkled in the light of twin suns. Ryan was 32 years old and had spent most of his adult life studying alien life forms. He was part of the first human team ever sent to make contact with another intelligent species. His hands were shaking not from fear but from pure excitement. This was history in the making. The journey to Zephyria had taken 6 months. During that time, Ryan and his team had studied everything they could about the aliens who called themselves the Zephyrians. The aliens had contacted Earth first, sending peaceful messages through space. They seemed friendly and wanted to meet, humans face to face. As their ship landed in what looked like a crystal garden, Ryan felt his heart beating fast. The landing pad was made of some kind of clear material that seemed to glow with its own light. Strange trees with silver leaves surrounded them, and the air smelled like flowers he had never encountered before. Captain Torres, the mission leader, gathered the team together. "Remember, we're representing all of humanity here. Be respectful, be careful, and follow my lead." Ryan nodded along with the other scientists and diplomats. He had been chosen for this mission because he understood alien biology better than almost anyone on Earth. The doors of their ship opened with a soft hiss. Ryan stepped onto the surface of an alien world for the first time. The gravity felt slightly lighter than Earth's, making each step feel bouncy. The air was breathable, which their sensors had already confirmed, but it felt different somehow. Cleaner, and with a slight tingle that made him feel more awake. A group of Zephyrians approached them across the crystal platform. Ryan had seen pictures and videos from their earlier communications, but seeing them in person was completely different. They looked somewhat like humans, but were clearly not from Earth. Their skin had a soft glow to it, like moonlight on water. They were tall and graceful, moving with a smoothness that seemed almost like dancing. The leader of the Zephyrian group stepped forward. She was wearing what appeared to be ceremonial robes that shifted colors as she moved. Her hair was long and seemed to float around her shoulders as if she were underwater. But what caught Ryan's attention most were her eyes. They were large and silver, like mirrors that reflected light in the most beautiful way. Captain Torres stepped forward and gave the greeting they had practiced. "We come in peace from the planet Earth. We are honored to meet you and learn about your world." The alien leader smiled, and when she did, Ryan noticed that her skin glowed a little brighter. "Welcome to Zephyria," she said in perfect English, though her voice had a musical quality that made it sound like she was singing. "I am Princess Zara, and I will be your guide during your stay with us." Ryan found himself staring at her. There was something about Princess Zara that was incredibly captivating. Maybe it was the way she moved so gracefully, or how her voice sounded like music, or how her silver eyes seemed to see right through him. He had always been focused on his work and hadn't had much time for relationships back on Earth. But looking at this alien princess, he felt something he hadn't experienced in a long time. As these thoughts crossed his mind, something strange happened. Princess Zara suddenly looked directly at him, and her cheeks started to glow brighter, almost like she was blushing. She quickly looked away and seemed to compose herself. "Please," she said, gesturing toward a path that led through the crystal garden. "Let me show you to your accommodation. You must be tired from your long journey." As they walked through the alien city, Ryan couldn't help but be amazed by everything around him. The buildings looked like they were grown rather than built, with curved walls that spiraled up toward the sky. Gardens filled with plants he had never seen before were everywhere, and small creatures that looked like flying jewels darted between the flowers. But even with all these wonders around him, Ryan found his attention kept returning to Princess Zara. She walked ahead of the group, explaining different aspects of their city, but every now and then she would glance back at him. Each time their eyes met, she would quickly look away, and her skin would glow just a little brighter. During the tour, Ryan learned that Zephyrians had built their society around harmony with nature. Their technology was advanced, but worked with natural processes rather than against them. Their buildings were alive in a way, growing and changing based on the needs of the people inside them. "Your world is incredible," Ryan said during a pause in the tour. "The way you've integrated technology with natural systems is something we on Earth are still trying to figure out." Princess Zara turned to him and smiled. "Thank you. We believe that working with nature rather than trying to control it leads to better outcomes for everyone." As she spoke, Ryan found himself thinking about how wise she seemed, and how her smile made him feel warm inside. Again, something odd happened. Princess Zara's expression changed suddenly, as if she had heard something unexpected. She blinked several times and then excused herself. "Please forgive me," she said to Captain Torres. "I need to attend to something urgent. My assistant will show you to your rooms, and we can continue tomorrow." She hurried away, leaving Ryan confused and wondering what had happened. The other team members didn't seem to notice anything unusual, but Ryan couldn't shake the feeling that Princess Zara had been reacting to something only she could perceive. That evening, as Ryan settled into his room in what the Zephyrians called a guest tree, a living building that had grown comfortable spaces for visitors, he couldn't stop thinking about the day's events. Every time he had found Princess Zara attractive or had thought something personal about her, she had seemed to react as if she knew exactly what he was thinking. He told himself he was being ridiculous. There was no way she could read his mind. But the timing of her reactions had been too perfect to be coincidence. As he drifted off to sleep in his strange but comfortable alien bed, Ryan wondered what tomorrow would bring and whether he would figure out the mystery of Princess Zara's unusual responses to his thoughts. The next morning, Ryan woke up feeling refreshed despite being on an alien planet. The guest tree had somehow adjusted its interior temperature and lighting to match his sleep cycle. When he looked out of his window, he saw Princess Zara walking through the garden below. She moved with such grace that it looked like she was floating rather than walking. Ryan quickly got dressed and joined the rest of his team for breakfast. The Zephyrians had prepared foods that were safe for humans to eat, though everything looked and tasted completely different from Earth food. There were fruits that changed color as you bit into them, and bread that seemed to glow with warmth. Captain Torres announced the day's schedule. "Today we'll be meeting with Princess Zara to discuss setting up cultural exchange programs between our worlds. Dr. Blake, since you're our xenobiologist, I want you to take the lead on understanding their society better." Ryan felt excited and nervous at the same time. He would get to spend more time with Princess Zara, but he was also worried about those strange moments from yesterday when she seemed to react to his thoughts. Princess Zara arrived at the meeting room right on time. She wore a different outfit today, a flowing dress that seemed to be made from captured starlight. Ryan found himself thinking that she looked even more beautiful than yesterday, if that was possible. The moment that thought crossed his mind, Princess Zara stumbled slightly as she entered the room. She quickly regained her composure, but Ryan noticed her skin had that bright glow again, like she was embarrassed. "Good morning, everyone," she said in her musical voice. "I hope you slept well in our guest accommodations." As the meeting progressed, Ryan began to notice a pattern. Every time he thought something, whether it was wondering about Zephyrian culture, feeling impressed by their technology, or admiring Princess Zara's intelligence, she would react in some small way. If he thought something funny, the corners of her mouth would twitch like she was trying not to smile. If he felt confused about something, she would immediately offer more explanation without being asked. But the most obvious reactions came when his mind wandered to more personal thoughts about her. When he wondered what her silver hair would feel like, she would unconsciously touch her own hair. When he thought about how her eyes sparkled in the light, she would blink rapidly and look away. Captain Torres was discussing trade possibilities between Earth and Zephyria, but Ryan found it hard to concentrate. He was becoming more and more convinced that Princess Zara could somehow hear his thoughts. The idea should have been frightening, but instead he found it fascinating from a scientific perspective. During a break in the formal discussions, Ryan decided to test his theory. While Princess Zara was explaining a holographic display of their city, he deliberately thought about how thirsty he was and how much he would love a glass of water. Without finishing her sentence about the city's energy systems, Princess Zara suddenly turned to an assistant and said, "Could you please bring our guests some refreshments? They must be thirsty after traveling so far yesterday." Ryan's heart started beating faster. There was no way that was a coincidence. He tried another test. While looking at a complex piece of Zephyrian art, he thought about how much he wished he could understand the symbols carved into it. Princess Zara immediately walked over to him. "This piece tells the story of our planet's history," she said, pointing to different symbols. "These marks here represent the time before we learned to live in harmony with nature." Ryan stared at her in amazement. She had answered his unspoken question perfectly. But now she was looking at him with a worried expression, as if she realized she had revealed something she shouldn't have. The rest of the morning continued with more meetings. But Ryan couldn't focus on anything except watching Princess Zara's reactions to his thoughts. It was like having a conversation without speaking. When he thought something kind about her people, she would smile. When he felt overwhelmed by all the new information, she would slow down her explanations. After lunch, Captain Torres and the other team members went to tour the Zephyrian technology centers, but Ryan asked if he could spend more time learning about their culture. Princess Zara agreed to give him a private tour of their historical archives. As they walked through halls filled with glowing crystals that stored information, Ryan decided he had to address what was happening between them. The situation was becoming too obvious to ignore. "Princess Zara," he said, stopping in front of a particularly beautiful crystal display. "Can I ask you something personal?" She turned to face him, and he could see nervousness in her silver eyes. "Of course, Dr. Blake. What would you like to know?" Ryan took a deep breath. He was about to ask a question that might change everything. "Are you reading my mind?" The effect was immediate. Princess Zara's skin went from its normal soft glow to shining so brightly that Ryan had to squint. She looked like she might faint from embarrassment. I don't know what you mean," she stammered, but her voice lacked its usual confidence. "Please," Ryan said gently. "I'm a scientist. I've been observing patterns all day. Every time I think something, you react to it. You answer questions I haven't asked. You offer help the moment I need it. Either you're incredibly good at reading body language, or something else is happening here." Princess Zara stood quietly for a long moment, her skin slowly returning to its normal glow. When she finally spoke, her voice was barely above a whisper. "My people have abilities that yours do not," she said, not meeting his eyes. "We didn't tell you about them in our initial communications because we were afraid it would frighten you away." "What kind of abilities?" Ryan asked, though he already suspected the answer. "We can hear surface thoughts," she admitted. "Not deep memories or private feelings, but the things that are actively on someone's mind. I've been hearing your thoughts since the moment we met, and I can't turn it off." Ryan felt a mix of emotions: amazement at the scientific implications, embarrassment at having his thoughts exposed, and sympathy for Princess Zara, who looked absolutely miserable about the situation. "So, you know everything I've been thinking about you?" he asked. Princess Zara's glow brightened again. "Yes. And I'm so sorry. I know how inappropriate it must be for you to have no privacy with your thoughts. I tried to ignore them, but your mind is so active and curious. It's actually quite refreshing compared to most people. Ryan surprised himself by laughing. Well, this certainly explains a lot about today, and here I thought I was being subtle. For the first time since her admission, Princess Zara smiled. You were not subtle at all, Dr. Blake, but your thoughts are kind, even when they're personal. That says good things about who you are as a person. As they stood in the glowing archive hall, Ryan realized that everything between them was about to change. The secret was out, and now they would have to figure out how to move forward with this strange new dynamic between them. Over the next few days, Ryan found himself in the strangest situation of his life. He was trying to work alongside someone who could hear every thought that crossed his mind. At first, it felt incredibly awkward. Every time he thought about how Princess Zara looked or wondered about something personal, he would catch himself and try to think about something else instead. Princess Zara seemed to understand his discomfort. During their first meeting after her revelation, she had suggested they find ways to make the situation more comfortable for both of them. Perhaps you could try some of our meditation techniques, she offered. They help our young people learn to control their thoughts when they first develop telepathic abilities. Ryan was willing to try anything. Princess Zara taught him breathing exercises and ways to focus his mind on specific topics. It was harder than he expected. He had never realized how much his brain jumped from one thought to another until he tried to control it. They practiced in the Crystal Gardens early each morning before the official meetings began. Ryan would sit on a bench made of smooth stone, while Princess Zara guided him through the exercises. She was a patient teacher, never making him feel embarrassed when his mind wandered to thoughts about her. Don't worry about it, she would say when he apologized for thinking something personal. Your thoughts are actually quite sweet. Most humans seem to have much more chaotic minds than yours. You've read other human minds? Ryan asked, surprised. Only the thoughts of your team members when they're nearby, she explained. Captain Torres thinks about military strategy constantly. Dr. Chen worries about every little detail of the mission. And Dr. Williams spends most of his time thinking about the food back on Earth. Ryan laughed. That sounds about right. Williams has been complaining about missing pizza since day one. As the days passed, Ryan began to get better at controlling his thoughts. But more importantly, he started to understand what Princess Zara's life was like. She didn't just read his mind. She was constantly hearing the thoughts of everyone around her. During a cultural ceremony that the human team was invited to observe, Ryan watched Princess Zara interact with her people. The ceremony took place in a large amphitheater carved into the side of a crystal mountain. Hundreds of Zephyrians gathered, their glowing skin creating a beautiful light show against the translucent walls. What's happening? Ryan whispered to Princess Zara as they sat in the special viewing area. This is our harmony gathering, she explained. As princess, I need to connect with my people telepathically to understand their needs and concerns. Ryan watched in amazement as Princess Zara closed her eyes and her skin began to glow brighter than he had ever seen it. The other Zephyrians in the crowd started glowing too, creating waves of light that pulsed through the amphitheater. But as the ceremony continued, Ryan noticed that Princess Zara looked increasingly tired. Her face showed strain, and she seemed to be struggling with something. When the ceremony finally ended an hour later, she was exhausted. Are you okay? Ryan asked as they walked back toward the palace. Princess Zara nodded, but he could see she was still affected by whatever had happened during the ceremony. It's part of my duties as princess, but sometimes it's overwhelming to feel everyone's emotions at once. Tonight I experienced the joy of new parents, the grief of those who have lost loved ones, the anxiety of students taking important tests, and the excitement of young couples in love, all at the same time. For the first time, Ryan truly understood what a burden Princess Zara's abilities could be. She didn't just hear thoughts. She felt the emotions that came with them. Every day she experienced the feelings of hundreds of people around her. That must be incredibly difficult, he said. How do you handle it? I've been trained since childhood to separate my own emotions from others, she replied. But it's not always easy. Sometimes I'm not sure which feelings are mine and which belong to someone else. Ryan felt a wave of sympathy for her. He had been thinking of her telepathy as an invasion of his privacy, but he hadn't considered how hard it must be for her to live with constant mental noise from everyone around her. That evening, they met in Princess Zara's private garden to continue their cultural exchange discussions. The garden was beautiful, with plants that glowed softly in the darkness and a small stream that sang as water flowed over musical stones. I want to apologize, Ryan said as they sat beside the musical stream. I've been so focused on how your abilities affect me that I didn't think about how they affect you. Princess Zara looked surprised. You don't need to apologize, Dr. Blake. Your reaction is completely normal. Most people would be uncomfortable knowing someone could read their thoughts. But it's not just reading thoughts, is it? Ryan said. You're constantly connected to everyone's emotions. That must be exhausting. It is, she admitted. But it also helps me understand people better. I can tell when someone is lying, when they're afraid, or when they need help. It makes me a better leader for my people. Ryan found himself thinking about how brave she was to carry such a heavy responsibility. As soon as the thought formed, Princess Zara smiled. Thank you for thinking that, she said. It means a lot coming from someone whose thoughts are always so kind. I've been wondering, Ryan said. Can you teach me to think in a way that's more comfortable for you? If we're going to be working together, I want to make this easier for both of us. Princess Zara's eyes lit up with surprise and gratitude. Most people ask me to stay out of their minds. You're the first person who's ever asked how to make the experience better for me. Over the following days, Princess Zara taught Ryan how to think more clearly and purposefully. She showed him how to organize his thoughts so they weren't so chaotic, and how to be more direct about what he was feeling instead of trying to hide it. Your species is fascinating, she told him during one of their practice sessions. You have such rich inner lives, but you're so afraid to share your real thoughts and feelings with each other. We're taught from childhood that some thoughts should stay private, Ryan explained. It's considered polite to keep certain feelings to ourselves. But doesn't that make you lonely? Princess Zara asked. How can you truly connect with someone if you're always hiding part of yourself? Ryan thought about this question for a long time. He realized that in his attempts to be professional and appropriate, he had been keeping people at a distance his whole life. His conversations with Princess Zara were the most honest interactions he had ever had with anyone. You know what's strange, he said. Even though you can read my thoughts, I feel more comfortable talking to you than I do with most people back on Earth. That's because you can't lie to me, Princess Zara said with a smile. And I can't lie to you either. When you know someone's thoughts, pretending becomes impossible. As their time together continued, Ryan began to appreciate the unique honesty of their relationship. With Princess Zara, he could be completely himself without fear of judgment. She already knew his thoughts, so there was no point in trying to impress her or hide his flaws. In return, Princess Zara started sharing more of her own feelings with him. She told him about the loneliness of being the only person who could hear everyone's thoughts but couldn't turn off her ability to give herself privacy. She talked about the pressure of being responsible for her people's well-being and how difficult it was to make decisions when she could feel everyone's conflicting emotions about those decisions. Their working relationship grew stronger each day, but Ryan could sense that something deeper was developing between them too. The question was whether a human and an alien with telepathic abilities could ever have a normal relationship, or if they were destined to remain forever connected by the strange circumstances that had brought them together. Everything changed on the morning of their 10th day on Zephyria. Ryan woke up to find Captain Torres pacing angrily in the common area of their guest tree, Dr. Chen and Dr. Williams were there too, both looking upset and confused. "We need to talk, Blake," Captain Torres said the moment he saw Ryan. "Sit down. We have a serious problem." Ryan felt his stomach drop. "What's wrong?" "Last night I couldn't sleep, so I went for a walk in the gardens," Dr. Chen began. "I ran into one of the Zephyrian Council members, and we started talking. During our conversation, he casually mentioned that Princess Zara had been reading our thoughts since we arrived." Ryan's heart sank. He had known this moment would come eventually, but he had hoped it would happen differently. "Is this true?" Captain Torres demanded. "Has that alien been reading our minds this entire time?" Ryan looked at his teammates. Dr. Chen looked betrayed and angry. Dr. Williams seemed scared. Captain Torres was furious in a way Ryan had never seen before. "Yes," Ryan said quietly. "Princess Zara told me about their telepathic abilities several days ago, and you didn't think to inform the rest of us?" Captain Torres's voice was getting louder. "Do you have any idea what this means? She knows our mission plans, our security protocols, everything we've discussed since we got here." "It's not like that," Ryan tried to explain. "She can only hear, surface thoughts, not deep memories or secret information. And she's been trying to respect our privacy as much as possible." "Respect our privacy?" Dr. Williams laughed bitterly. "She's been inside our heads for 10 days. "How is that respecting anything?" Dr. Chen shook his head in disgust. "This whole mission has been a setup from the beginning. They made contact with us knowing they had this advantage. They've been manipulating us the entire time." "That's not true," Ryan said. But even as he spoke, he could see that his teammates had already made up their minds. Captain Torres stood up and started pacing again. "We're leaving. Today. I'm calling Earth Command to inform them that this mission has been compromised. We can't trust anything these aliens have told us." "Wait," Ryan said desperately. "Let me talk to Princess Zara. Let me explain the situation. To her, maybe we can work something out." "Absolutely not," Captain Torres replied. "You're too close to this situation, Blake. It's clear that this alien has been influencing you somehow. You're not thinking clearly." The accusation hit Ryan like a punch to the stomach. "That's not fair. Princess Zara hasn't influenced me to do anything. If anything, working with her has helped me understand their culture better. Their culture of lies and mental invasion," Dr. Chen said coldly. "Face it, Ryan. They've been playing us from day one." Ryan felt helpless as he watched. His teammates packed their equipment. Everything they had worked for, all the progress they had made in building a bridge between humans and Zephyrians, was falling apart. An hour later, Ryan found Princess Zara in her private garden. She was sitting by the musical stream, but instead of her usual calm demeanor, she looked deeply troubled. Her skin was glowing dimly, and her silver eyes were filled with sadness. "You know what happened, don't you?" Ryan said as he sat down beside her. "I felt your teammates' anger and fear from across the palace," she replied. "Their thoughts were so loud and upset that I couldn't block them out. Captain Torres is planning to leave Zephyria today. He thinks your people have been deceiving us," Ryan explained. "He feels like the mission has been compromised because you can read our thoughts." Princess Zara nodded sadly. "I was afraid this would happen. This is why we didn't reveal our abilities in our initial communications. We knew it would frighten many species away." "Why didn't you tell them sooner?" Ryan asked. "If you had explained it from the beginning, maybe they would have understood." "Would they have?" Princess Zara looked at him with those silver eyes that seemed to see right through him. "Your captain is thinking about how we could use our abilities to spy on human military secrets. Dr. Chen is worried that we've been reading classified information from his mind. Dr. Williams is terrified that we've been controlling his thoughts. Somehow." Ryan knew she was right. His teammates were too scared and angry to listen to reason now. "There has to be something we can do," he said. "We can't let fear destroy everything we've built here." Princess Zara was quiet for a long moment. What do you think we should do, Ryan? You know both sides better than anyone. Ryan thought carefully. He understood his teammates' concerns, but he also knew that Princess Zara and her people weren't the monsters his team now believed them to be. I think I need to make a choice, he said finally. I can go back to Earth with my team and let this opportunity disappear forever, or I can stay here and try to build a better understanding between our peoples. You would stay? Princess Zara's skin brightened with surprise. Even knowing that your own people now distrust this mission? I would stay because I believe in what we're trying to accomplish here, Ryan replied. Your people and mine have so much to learn from each other. Just because we're different doesn't mean we can't work together. Princess Zara smiled for the first time that day. Your thoughts are very clear on this matter. You truly believe that our differences can be strengths rather than barriers. I do, Ryan said, but I need your help. If I'm going to convince anyone that this relationship can work, I need to prove that humans and Zephyrians can coexist peacefully. What did you have in mind? Ryan took a deep breath. I want to propose a new kind of diplomatic relationship, one based on informed consent. Your people would only read human thoughts when specifically asked to do so, and humans would only work with your telepaths when they understand and agree to the mental connection. That's actually a very reasonable solution, Princess Zara said thoughtfully. It would require changes in how both our peoples approach these interactions, but it could work. Will you help me present this idea to both the human team and the Zephyrian Council? Ryan asked. Princess Zara stood up and extended her hand to him. I will help you, Ryan Blake. But you should know that your teammates are very angry with you right now. Captain Torres thinks you've betrayed Earth by taking our side. Ryan took her hand and stood up. Maybe I have taken your side, but I prefer to think that I'm taking the side of understanding and cooperation instead of fear and mistrust. As they walked back toward the palace together, Ryan knew he was about to face the most important decision of his life. He could return to Earth with his team and resume his old life, or he could stay on Zephyria and work toward building something entirely new. The choice seemed obvious to him now. He had found something on this alien world that he had never expected to find, a sense of purpose that went beyond his scientific career and a connection with someone who understood him better than anyone ever had. But first, he had to convince a room full of angry humans and concerned aliens that their two species could find a way to trust each other despite their fundamental differences. It wouldn't be easy, but Ryan was determined to try. After all, the best discoveries in science often came from exploring the unknown rather than retreating to the safety of familiar territory. And this was the most important discovery of his lifetime. The emergency meeting took place in the Grand Council chamber of the Zephyrian Palace. The room was impressive, with walls made of crystal that seemed to capture and reflect light from the twin suns outside. The human team sat on one side of a curved table, while Princess Zara and 3 Zephyrian Council members sat on the other side. Ryan stood in the middle, feeling like he was caught between two worlds that were rapidly drifting apart. Captain Torres spoke first, his voice cold and professional. We appreciate the hospitality you've shown us, but we cannot continue diplomatic relations under these circumstances. The fact that you can read our thoughts without our knowledge or consent makes any agreement between our peoples impossible. One of the Zephyrian Council members, an elderly alien with deep silver eyes, responded calmly. We understand your concerns, Captain Torres. We did not intend to deceive you, but we also feared that revealing our abilities too early would prevent any meaningful contact between our species. And you were right to fear that, Dr. Chen said angrily. How can we trust anything you've told us? How do we know you haven't been manipulating our thoughts this entire time? Because manipulation would be impossible, Princess Zara said gently. We can hear thoughts, but we cannot change them or control them. Your minds remain entirely your own. That's not the point, Dr. Williams added. The point is that we had no idea this was happening. We've been having private conversations while you listened to every word we thought." Ryan took a deep breath. This was his moment to either save the mission or watch it fall apart completely. "Have a proposal," he said, stepping forward. "What if we could find a way to make this work for both sides?" Captain Torres looked at him with disappointment. "Blake, I'm ordering you to stand down. You're too emotionally involved in this situation to think clearly." "With respect, Captain, I think I'm the only one thinking clearly right now," Ryan replied. "I've spent the last 10 days learning to work with Princess Zara's abilities, and I've discovered something important. The telepathic connection doesn't have to be a barrier between our peoples. It could actually be a bridge." "Explain," said the elderly Zephyrian council member. Ryan moved to a position where he could address both groups. "The problem isn't that Princess Zara can read thoughts. The problem is that we didn't know about it and couldn't consent to it. But what if we could create a new kind of diplomatic relationship based on informed consent and mutual understanding?" "What do you mean?" Princess Zara asked, though Ryan suspected she already knew from reading his thoughts. "I mean that humans who choose to work with Zephyrians would know about the telepathic abilities from the beginning. They would consent to having their surface thoughts read, understanding that this creates a deeper level of communication and trust." Captain Torres shook his head. "That's insane. No government on Earth would agree to that." "Why not?" Ryan challenged. "We already share classified information with our closest allies. We trust them with our military secrets and economic plans. This would just be a different kind of trust." Dr. Chen looked skeptical. "But how would we know they're not reading deeper thoughts or accessing classified information?" Princess Zara spoke up. "I can demonstrate the limits of our abilities, if you're willing to let me. Dr. Chen, think about something specific from your childhood, something you've never told anyone." Dr. Chen hesitated, then nodded. He closed his eyes and concentrated for a moment. "I can sense that you're thinking about a happy memory involving water and laughter," Princess Zara said. "But I cannot see the specific details or understand what actually happened. Those deeper memories are protected in a part of your mind that we cannot access." Dr. Chen's eyes widened in surprise. "That's actually accurate. I was thinking about a day at the beach with my family, but you couldn't see the specific events. Our abilities work only with active surface thoughts," the elderly council member explained. "We cannot access stored memories, classified information, or deeply buried secrets. We hear only what someone is actively thinking about in the present moment." Ryan saw a glimmer of hope in his teammates' expressions. "This is what I've learned over the past few days," he continued. "Working with Princess Zara has actually made our communications more efficient and honest. There's no misunderstanding when both parties know exactly what the other is thinking." "But what about privacy?" Dr. Williams asked. "What about the right to keep some thoughts to ourselves?" "That's where the consent part comes in," Ryan explained. "Humans who work in telepathic diplomatic roles would volunteer for the position, knowing exactly what it involves. And Zephyrians could learn to partially shield their abilities when working with humans who haven't consented to mental contact." Princess Zara nodded. "We have techniques for limiting our telepathic reception. I've been practicing them with Ryan. It's possible to create mental barriers that give humans more privacy while still maintaining communication." Captain Torres was quiet for a long moment, clearly thinking through the implications. "Even if this could work, who would volunteer for such an assignment? What human would willingly give up their mental privacy?" Ryan took a deep breath. "I would." The room fell silent. Everyone stared at him. "I volunteer to stay on Zephyria as Earth's first telepathic liaison," Ryan continued. "I've already been working under these conditions for days, and I've found it to be the most honest and effective communication I've ever experienced." "Ryan," Captain Torres said quietly, "do you understand what you're offering? You'd be giving up your career on Earth, your family, your entire life." "I'd be gaining something more important," Ryan replied. "I'd be building a bridge between two worlds. I'd be proving that humans and Zephyrians can work together despite our differences. Princess Zara's skin was glowing brightly with emotion. You would really stay here, even after seeing how your own people react to our abilities? Especially after seeing that, Ryan said, turning to face her. Someone needs to prove that this can work. Someone needs to show both our peoples that fear and misunderstanding don't have to win. The elderly Zephyrian council member stood up. This is a most unusual proposal, Dr. Blake, but it has merit. If you truly consent to working under telepathic conditions, and if you can demonstrate that such cooperation is beneficial, it might pave the way for future diplomatic relations. Captain Torres looked around the room, clearly struggling with the decision. I can't officially approve this without consulting Earth Command, but I can agree to a trial period. 6 months. If Dr. Blake can establish successful communication, protocols, and prove that this arrangement works, we'll consider expanding the program. Ryan felt a surge of relief and excitement. Thank you, Captain. I won't let you down. You'll need to report regularly to Earth, Dr. Chen added. We'll want detailed records of how this telepathic diplomacy actually works. Of course, Ryan agreed. Complete transparency will be essential for building trust. Princess Zara stood up and approached Ryan. Are you certain about this decision? Once you commit to this path, your life will never be the same. Ryan looked into her silver eyes and thought about everything that had brought him to this moment. He thought about his lonely life on Earth, his passion for discovering new forms of life, and the incredible connection he had found with this alien princess who could read his every thought. I've never been more certain of anything in my life, he said. Over the following weeks, Ryan worked with both the human team and the Zephyrian Council to establish protocols for telepathic diplomacy. They created guidelines for consent, privacy protection, and communication boundaries. They developed training programs for both humans and Zephyrians who might participate in future exchanges. Most importantly, Ryan and Princess Zara continued to deepen their unique relationship. She learned to partially shield her telepathic abilities, giving him moments of mental privacy while still maintaining their special connection. He learned to communicate more openly and honestly than he ever had before. When Captain Torres and the rest of the human team finally departed for Earth, they carried with them a detailed report of the new diplomatic framework and Ryan's preliminary findings about telepathic communication. Standing in the crystal gardens and watching the human ship disappear into the alien sky, Ryan felt no regret about his decision. He had found his purpose among the stars, working to build understanding between two very different species. Princess Zara joined him as the ship vanished from view. Do you think they'll approve the program when they return to Earth? She asked. Ryan smiled, knowing she could sense his confidence through their mental connection. They will. It might take time, but eventually they'll see that our differences make us stronger, not weaker. And what about us? Princess Zara asked softly. What happens to the human scientist and the alien princess who started this whole adventure? Ryan turned to face her, his thoughts clear and unguarded. We continue building bridges. We prove that understanding and cooperation can overcome any barrier. And we show both our worlds that the most important connections happen not despite our differences, but because of them. As the twin suns set over the crystal city of Zephyria, Ryan Blake began his new life as humanity's first telepathic ambassador, working alongside an alien princess who had taught him that TR